practice I have to offer you today is a seated practice. So I'm sitting on the floor on a yoga bolster. You could be sitting up on the edge of a folded blanket. You could be on a meditation cushion. You could even be sitting in a chair or on the couch or on the end of your bed. If you're seated, if you're seated in a chair, it's best to actually have a chair that has no arms on it, because we'll be doing some side bending and some twisting, and those chair arms might get in the way. Because I'm sitting up a little higher, I have a couple of yoga blocks. You could use blocks of wood, books, there's lots of things that you could use. I just need it because I'm sitting up higher, so when I lean sideways, it's just nice to have a little bit of an arm extender there for me. The other thing I wanted to say about sitting in a chair, I know for me, I'm short enough that when I sit in regular sized furniture, my feet don't quite touch the ground. So I'm up on my tippy toes. And if I sit like that for very long, it can start to make my feet fall asleep. It puts some strain on my knees. So if you have the same situation where when you sit in a chair, your feet don't actually go flat on the floor, take a yoga block or something else and make yourself a little footstool so your feet are actually flat and your your quads are sort of parallel to the ground, and it probably will be more comfortable. So finding whatever variation of a comfortable seat works for you, we'll just start to arrive in our practice. So if it's easier for you to close your eyes, you can do that. If you keep your eyes open, just have a soft gaze. And just start to pull your energy back to your core. So any thoughts that you might have about what you need to accomplish later in the day, any sort of remembering that you're doing, just anything that isn't here right now, go ahead and loosen your grip on that and just start to let that dissolve and go. Just starting to feel yourself in your body. Starting to notice your breath. Maybe feeling your chest rising and falling, or noticing the sound of the inhale and the exhale. Knowing that for the next little bit, anything else that isn't your practice can wait. No matter how important it is, no matter how big it is, you can put that off to the side for now. And so I've been thinking a lot lately about the current moment that we're in particular COVID-19, and how that's requiring us to face a lot of uncertainty and maybe even fear, anger, grief. And so it can be hard to stay open right now to what is. It can be hard to stay here. Our response to that kind of stress and uncertainty is often to reject it, to resist it, to run away from it, to just avoid it any way that we can, which is not a really great way to live your life. You won't be there for your life if your effort is placed in avoiding it. So as we practice, it can be a safe place, just a very small moment in time where we can practice staying open to what's arising. And just reminding ourselves that at the same time, there are things that are uncertain and scary and sad. There's also joy and love and happiness and gratitude. And holding those things close to the things that are hard is how we survive. That's how we make it through. That's how we're able to stay here and to not give up. And I have a poem that I want to share with you that's related. It's very appropriate for the season because it's a poem about spring. And it's also appropriate for this season because the title of the poem is Instructions on Not Giving Up. And it's from one of my favorite poets, Ada Limon. So if your eyes aren't closed, you could close your eyes and just listen as I read this poem. Instructions on not giving up. More than the fuchsia funnels breaking out of the crabapple tree, more than the neighbor's almost obscene display of cherry limbs, shoving their cotton candy colored blossoms to the slate sky of spring rains. It's the greening of the trees that really gets to me. When all the shock of white and taffy, the world's baubles and trinkets, leave the pavement strewn with confetti of aftermath, the leaves come. Patient, plodding, a green skin growing over whatever winter did to us, a return to the strange idea of continuous living despite the mess of us, the hurt, the empty. Fine then, I'll take it, the tree seems to say, a new slick leaf unfurling like a fist to an open palm. I'll take it all. So we'll start simply by taking 3 deeper conscious breaths. Maybe pulling your breath down to the bottom of your lungs, even into your belly. Again, feeling anything that's not your practice start to dissolve and move away. And feeling yourself here in your body with your breath. And we'll start with some simple neck movements. So just turning your head to look over your left shoulder, coming back to center, turning your head over your right shoulder, back to center, dropping your left ear towards your left shoulder, coming back to center, dropping the right ear towards right shoulder, back to center. Inhaling your right arm up overhead and then turning to look over your left shoulder. Bringing your head back to center. And we're going to drop the right ear to the right shoulder. You can use your right hand to give yourself a little bit of an extra stretch or just reach your arm out towards the side. And then releasing your head back to center again, raising left arm up, turning to look over the right shoulder. Turning your head back to the center, dropping left ear to left shoulder. You can always use the left hand on your head or you can reach it out to the side. And coming back to center. We're going to start inhaling, arms overhead, and as our arms come up, our eyes look over our head. So on an inhale, raise arms up, look up towards the ceiling, and then turning your palms out, we'll exhale the arms down, dropping your head. And we'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, arms overhead, eyes look up. Exhale, palms down, head drops. 1 more time, inhaling up, and then exhaling down. And then bringing your fingers interlaced, palms behind your head, resting the back of your head into your palms. Simply start by inhaling, opening, pulling your elbows back. You might feel your shoulders come closer together. You could even look up towards the ceiling. On your exhale, bringing elbows together in front and dropping your head. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhaling, arms open. Exhaling, elbows towards each other, head drops. Inhale, open. Exhaling forward. And then releasing, hands down, neck comes back to neutral. And we'll just start shrugging our shoulders up and releasing down. You can do that a few times. You could even roll your shoulders up, back, and down if that feels good. And then inhaling our arms out and up overhead again, looking up towards our fingertips. And then we'll drop our elbows, bend them down. This is called cactus arms. You could even look up slightly, bend your back. On your inhale, arms up overhead again. This time when we drop our arms, we're going to release them straight and drop our head down. Inhale, arms up overhead again. Bending our elbows, drop into cactus. Inhaling, arms up overhead. Again, keeping arms straight, we'll reach them down and drop our head. And then we'll do that 1 more time. Inhaling, arms up overhead. Elbows bend. Inhale, overhead. Exhale, arms down, head drops. And go ahead and relax back to neutral again. And now here's where I'm going to be using, we're going to do some side stretches. So I'm going to rest my hand on a block. You could do that if you need it. So inhaling, arm up overhead, dropping our left arm down, reaching right arm over. Inhaling back to center, arms overhead, dropping right hand down, reaching over. Inhaling, both arms overhead, back to center. This time dropping the left hand, reaching over. You can stay in this static side stretch, or if you'd like, you could add rolling that shoulder, reaching your hand forward, and then bringing it, opening it towards the back. You could even bend your elbow a little here. All of us meeting in center in that side stretch, rising back, both arms overhead, and then we'll drop to the right. And again, you can either stay in this static stretch, or you can roll that shoulder, reach your hand forward, come to center, and then reach it behind. You could even bend the elbow. Coming back to the center side stretch. Rising back overhead, both arms here. And then we're going to turn to the left and drop our hands in a twist. So your right hand on your front knee, your back hand can be on the ground or maybe reaching, getting some balance on your seat. Really working to have the twist come from your core rather than that back arm pulling you into it. Inhale, arms back to center, and then we'll exhale, twisting to the right, dropping left hand on the right knee. You can look back over your right shoulder. And then releasing back to center. We'll do some robin's breath here, giving ourselves a little movement in our spine. So bringing hands to heart center, we inhale here, and on an exhale, we reach our hands out and drop our head forward. Inhale, opening our arms back to cactus arms. Exhale, hands come forward and together again, dropping the head, and then bringing those hands back to heart. We'll do that 2 more times. So we inhale here, Exhale, reach out, drop the head. Inhale, cactus arms, look towards the sky. Exhale, palms together, head drops. Inhale, back to heart center. Exhale, hands go out, head drops. Inhale, arms bend, look up towards the ceiling. Exhale, palms back together, head drops. And then bringing hands back to heart center. Here we'll do a little stretch for our arms, drawing your right arm across and then reaching around that elbow to give yourself a little leverage. Opening arms back out, and then we cross left arm over, pulling that shoulder in. Reaching our arms back out, bringing the right arm on top. You can come into eagle arms here. I have trouble on this side, really reaching up there. Or you could give yourself a hug. And so we'll reach elbows up, looking towards the ceiling, bringing elbows down, rounding our head, really pulling those shoulders away from each other. And then inhale, release those arms out again. This time left arm comes on top. And again, you could either do eagle arms or you could give yourself a hug. Either way, drawing elbows up, maybe even looking towards the ceiling. And then bringing elbows down, rounding the head, drawing those shoulder blades away from each other on your back. And then go ahead and release arms open one more time. Maybe shake out your hands. And we're going to do something called a nerve glide, which kind of sounds a little scary, but it's not. We have a big bundle of nerves that has to pass through a really small space in our shoulders. So if that gets constricted, it can cause all kinds of tingly, numbness, or hands falling asleep. So it's good to give those a stretch. So we'll start with hands on the side, pressing our palms down towards the floor, and then bringing hands out in front, palms facing forward, arms out to the side. And then bringing our arms up overhead and then dropping so our fingertips are touching the center of our forehead. We're looking up towards the ceiling. Reaching those arms back out to the side, turning our fingertips down here and circling those arms around, bringing backs of the hands together in front of our heart center, and then turning so the palms are touching. And we'll do that 2 more times. So bringing hands down to the side, fingertips pointing forward, palms pressing down, and then bringing hands out in front, out to the side, circling them around, dropping our head back, bringing fingertips to the forehead, bringing arms back out to the side, turning our palms down, circling our arms around and down, back of the hands together in front of the heart, and then palms together in front of the heart. And one more time, hands down to the side, fingertips forward, pressing down to the heel of the hand, bringing arms in front, out to the side, circling them around overhead, touching our fingertips to our forehead, bringing arms back out to the side, turning palms down, circling arms around and under, backs of the hands together at the heart, and then palms together at the heart center. And let's do a little bit of seated cat-cow. So just your hands are resting on your thighs. And on an inhale, you draw your shoulders back, press your heart forward, and drop your head back. On your exhale, you're rounding forward, dropping your shoulders forward, dropping your head. We'll do 2 more of those. So inhale, reaching your heart forward. Exhale, rounding down. Inhale, heart forward. And exhale, rounding down. And then relax back to neutral. starting to move into the lower part of our body, simply starting to circle around, bringing some movement into your hips. Do 3 to one side, and then pause in the center and move 3 to the other side. And coming back to neutral. And we'll extend legs out in front of us. And again, it doesn't matter if you're sitting in a chair or on the floor for this. You'll be able to get the same stretch. So however you're seated, just stretching your legs out in front of you, maybe flexing your feet, pulling your toes toward your shin and pressing out through your heels. We're going to be doing some different forward folds here, and I want to mention a lot of times when we go into a forward fold, we're not really that conscious of our alignment, and we tend to just sort of collapse and round forward, which is not great for our back. It also doesn't really give us as much of a stretch in the back of our legs. So if you think about anytime you're forward folding, there's this crease in your hips here. And if you keep your heart leading forward and fold this way, and then if you get to your stopping point, you can relax your head. So folding forward here, feeling a stretch in the back of our legs. And then rising back up, and we'll do a counter stretch. So bringing your hands behind you, pulling shoulder blades together on your back, and you can even drop your head back. So just opening in the opposite direction, releasing back to neutral. And we're going to bring soles of our feet together, drop our knees out. Again, if you're seated in a chair, you can just roll to the side, the outside edge of your feet, and drop your knees open. You could always stack some blocks if you want to bring your feet a little closer. And again, reaching behind us, pulling shoulders together, dropping the head, opening the heart, coming back up to neutral. And again, keeping in mind, we're folding from that crease in the hips and reaching forward with our heart. And when you get to where you'd like to stop, you could also bring hands to the floor, or you could rest them on your legs. You could even press into your knees, maybe giving yourself a little bit of a more stretch. And then we'll rise back up. Keeping your legs in this position, inhale your arms up overhead, and then we'll turn towards the left knee in a twist. Inhaling arms overhead, turning towards the right knee. Inhaling arms overhead. This time bring your arms out to a T, and we'll turn towards that left knee in an open arm twist. Back towards the center, towards the right knee, open arm twist. And back towards the center, bringing hands on the knees and drawing your legs back together, straightening them out. And then bringing your feet out into a straddle. Again, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're in a chair or on the floor. You might want to scoot a little forward in your chair, but you'll get the same stretch regardless. So reaching hands behind, pulling shoulder blades together, opening the heart, maybe dropping the head. Rising back to neutral. Again, thinking about folding from that crease in the hips and reaching forward with your heart, keeping that back flat. And you can release your arms out to the side or out in front of you. Finding a stretch that feels good to you. And then walking yourself back up. And we'll bend right knee in. Again, if you're in a chair, you could have your foot on the seat with you, or you could have it just rolled to the side and your knee dropped out. We're going to turn our torso towards our right bent knee. You can rest your left hand on the extended left leg, inhaling right arm up, and we'll do a side stretch over that left leg. If it doesn't feel good to have this left leg straight, you can always bring a little bit of bend into the knee. And then rising back up. And here we'll arms overhead, turn towards the extended leg. And again, hinging from that hip, leading with the heart, reaching forward. You can drop your arms. You could reach your toe if that's available to you. And then inhaling, arms back up, rising overhead again. And we're going to turn and do a twist over that bent right knee. So left hand can drop on the knee. You can look over your right shoulder. And then releasing back to center. We'll do the other side. So stretching your right leg out, bending, left knee in. Resting right hand on the extended right leg, turning towards that left knee, inhaling left arm up. And side stretching over that extended leg. Again, if it feels better, you can bring a little bit of a bend into your right knee. Stretching that side body. And then engaging our core, rising back up, arms overhead. Turning towards that extended knee and hinging from the hip, leading with the heart. We'll fold forward. You can drop your hands. Reach for your toes or your shin. And then rising back up, arms overhead. We'll twist towards that left knee, dropping right hand to the knee, left hand reaching behind you. You can look over your left shoulder. And then turning back to center. Bringing knees in. And again, this will be slightly different if you're sitting in a chair and you've got more distance between yourself and the floor, but you can still get the same stretch. You can reach around and grab your ankles, or if you're sitting up, you can press the backs of your hands into your knees and giving yourself some counter pressure here, pressing knees in and arms out. This is almost like a seated happy baby or a goddess squat variation. Stretching our hips, maybe releasing some tension in our low back. And then relaxing, extending left leg out, stepping the right leg slightly out to the side. Your toes can point out at an angle. And then bringing your right arm on the inside, reaching the left arm up and over. Releasing down, extending the right leg. Left foot comes in, toes point at an angle. Left arm to the inside of the leg, right arm reaching over. Rising back up. Extending legs out in front of you, and we'll bring the right leg and rest it over the left knee. If this is too much for you, you can just have your foot on the inside, almost like a tree variation. And if having your right leg on your straight left knee isn't quite enough of a stretch, you can always bend that left leg and bring your knee a little bit closer. Figure 4 pigeon variation. And then releasing that right leg out straight, crossing left ankle over right knee, or having it on the inside. You could even bend forward if that feels better, or bring that right knee closer in. And then releasing out, extending your legs, shaking your feet and your arms, and then coming back to a comfortable seated position. And we'll end with just a few minutes of meditation. The intention of yoga asana practice, which that's the poses that we do, that we typically in the West think of as that's what yoga is. It's actually only one of 8 limbs of yoga. But that asana practice, that moving our body, staying with our breath, having our thoughts be focused on the movement of our body, integrates all of our systems and aligns them so that when we sit in meditation, we're less fidgety. Like our body can relax more easily, our mind can settle. So it's actually the intention of that practice, besides that it feels good to your body, is to prepare us to settle into meditation. So we'll do that together for a few minutes. You can have eyes open with a soft gaze, or you can close your eyes. And we're going to be placing our awareness on our breath. So like I said at the beginning, that may be a felt sense of breath for you. Maybe you feel your chest rising and falling. Maybe it's the sound of your inhale and exhale. Just starting to rest your attention there. One thing that meditation can do for us is help us practice that staying open with what is. Even when what is difficult. Because as we sit and meditate, on the one hand, you could say it's a very simple thing. We're just sitting here breathing. But on the other hand, our mind, our emotions, our body can behave sort of like a toddler that you're trying to put to sleep for the night, who, as soon as you say goodnight and start to close the door, I have to go to the bathroom. Can I have a drink of water? Can you read me a book? We can be like that when we try to sit in meditation. So that's okay, that's normal. We're just practicing being with that kind of energy, being with what arises, but also still being able to settle. Being more peaceful, and yet still maintaining awareness. And if you have thoughts arise or feelings come, which they will, you simply notice them. You don't get distracted or caught up. And even if you do, as soon as you notice that you've gotten distracted, that maybe your attention has strayed from your breath, you simply notice that and come back. So we'll meditate together for a few minutes. bring your meditation to a close, simply stop meditating. And now, if you'd like, you could find your way into Shavasana. So lying down, using whatever props might feel good, maybe covering yourself with a blanket, just getting comfortable. And Shavasana is referred to as corpse pose, which on the one hand you could say it's because you look like a corpse because you're lying down and you're so still. But it's also considered the death of our practice, the closing of our practice, the end of our practice. So it's a few moments for you to be able to integrate everything that happened, but then also let it go. So find your way into whatever a comfortable position looks like for you, whether that's lying on your back. You could have a rolled up blanket behind your knees. You could stay seated. Close your eyes. Soften the muscles of your face. Relax your shoulders. Allowing yourself to melt into the floor beneath you. Softening and relaxing. As you rest, I'd like to read you this Ada Limon poem again. Instructions on not giving up. More than the fuchsia funnels breaking out of the crabapple tree, more than the neighbors' almost obscene display of cherry limbs shoving their cotton candy-colored blossoms to the slate sky of spring rains. It's the greening of the trees that really gets to me. When all the shock of white and taffy, the world's baubles and trinkets, leave the pavement strewn with the confetti of aftermath, the leaves come, patient, plodding, a green skin growing over whatever winter did to us, a return to the strange idea of continuous living despite the mess of us, the hurt, the empty. Fine then, I'll take it, the tree seems to say. A new slick leaf unfurling like a fist to an open palm. I'll take it all. I'd also like to share what Ada Limon had to say about this poem. It was a hard winter. My whole body raged against it. But right as the world feels uninhabitable, something miraculous happens. The trees come back. I want to praise that ordinary thing as a way of bringing myself back too. So starting to bring some movement back into your body simply by taking a deeper breath. You could turn your head side to side, wiggle your fingers and toes, maybe do a full body stretch. Eventually drawing your knees in and rolling to your side. Pressing yourself up and finding your way back into a seated position. And bringing your hands together at heart center, bowing your head and honoring yourself for practicing today. By the merit of our practice together, may suffering be eased in ourselves and in the world. Thank you for practicing.